With the agony in the garden and the arrest of Jesus, we're delving into the passion, and it's late in our journey through the exercises. So I think it's normal that weariness and tiredness can set in. I encourage you to recall that even though we're doing a few meditations on the Passion, there's still just a few. And before you know it, that time will be gone. So we should strive to make the most of each one. Remember that our fruits, the fruit we're seeking, is great sorrow and confusion at seeing what Christ is going through and what he has to suffer. And I think I would add to that to get a sense of his great driving love, his endless pursuing love. This afternoon I was looking for an expression of this, and I looked up that famous poem, The Hound of Heaven, which I decided not to give you because it's very wordy and difficult to read through. But it's that idea of the Hound of Heaven, the love that is after me. So much tenacity and perseverance that he's not going to give up. He's not going to stop at anything. That's what we want to get engraved in our hearts. The reality of how much Christ is willing to go through for me, what extent he's willing to go to save me. So I think it's also possible that we can get tired of feeling strong emotions, tired of exciting a lot of sorrow, a lot of pain in our hearts. And that's normal, because we're human. Even if you were grieving a loved person, after a certain amount of time, you stop feeling anything. Emotions just get worn out. So if that's the case, or if you just need a break from that type of prayer, from the empathy, you can really just spend this time with Christ. Just like activate your faith, that I'm with you, Lord, now. And in this hour, or in the next meditation, in that hour, I have this special time of grace to be reliving that moment with you, and I'm just going to be with you. I'm just going to sit here in your presence and let you do what you want in me, instead of trying to excite more emotion. But we do want to grasp the sorrow and his great driving love. I came across a really beautiful testimony of someone's, a young woman's ability to accept the will of God in spite of how much suffering it means. If you'll excuse a bit of a worldly reference, this came from America's Got Talent. There's this girl who comes on America's Got Talent, and she says she's going to sing a song. She's very skinny and has short hair. Okay, and they ask her where she's from and how old she is, and are you singing with somebody? No, I'm singing alone today. What are you going to sing? A song that I wrote. Okay, what's the song called? It's called It's Okay. You know, does everybody know the story? This person's amazing. Do you know the whole story? Man, incredible. Okay, so she says, for those who don't know, she says, What's the song about? It's a song about the past year of my life. Okay, so what do you do? What's your profession? I don't really do anything. I've been fighting cancer. I'm like, whoa. And then the other guy says, how are you now? And she says, well, last time I checked, I had cancer in my lungs, in my spine, and in my liver. And everyone's like, whoa. And he goes, so you're not okay? She says, well, no, not in every way. And the other guy says, well, you've got a beautiful smile and a beautiful glow. Like she's really joyful. She's really happy, smiling. And she says, thank you. It's important that everybody knows that I'm so much more than all the bad things that happened to me. mic drop, you know. And then she sings her song, and it's really good, and it's not like Christian or anything, you know. Just it's about how it's okay to feel lost sometimes, you know. And everyone's like a standing ovation, and everyone's praising her, and they're all saying how awesome she was and what a great job she did and everything. And then the one guy goes, well, there's something about the way you sang that song after like casually telling us what you're going through. And she says, you can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. Another mic drop. It's like, wow, you know. And then they give her the golden buzzer and all that stuff. But I looked her up afterwards. She passed away this year. She died of cancer. So I looked her up, and she has this blog. I wanted to see if she was a believer, you know. I wanted to know if she went to heaven. I wanted to know what gave her that strength, you know. And it turns out she's Christian. So she has this blog where she talks about God. And I've made some excerpts from it. I've had cancer 3 times now, and I've barely passed 30. I am God's downstairs neighbor, banging on the ceiling with a broomstick. I show up at his door every day, sometimes with songs, sometimes with curses. I've called him a cheat and a liar, and I've meant it. You can call me bitter if you want to. That's fair. Count me among the angry, the cynical, the offended, the hardened. But count me also among the friends of God. For I have seen him in a rare form. I have felt his exhale, laid in his shadow, squinted to read the message he wrote for me in the grout. I am sad too. I'm sad too. It's the message God wrote for her. So, the strength to accept the will of God even when it's ultimate suffering, and the strength to accept it with joy and with love and courage. I wanted to share another thing with you. When I was at Captivenia, got a really great dad experience. So with all these little girls, you know, and they have these missions where they have to go down and out into the woods and stuff. And they put these creatures out there. They're called minions, okay? But not like the minions in whatever you call it movie. The minions are these creatures who used to be beautiful women, but got disfigured because of their vanity. So they like writhe around on the ground, and they've sewn these potato sacks onto their faces. So they've got like the semblance of a human face sewn into these bags that are covering their heads. Okay, and they squeal and scream and screech and stuff. So they're really scary. And when the girls go by, they'll like crawl up to them and grab onto their feet and stuff, you know. So it's like horrifying, especially for a little kid, right? So we go out on this last battle, and some of the girls, especially ones who've been there before, know what's coming. They know that it's going to be really scary, that these things are going to be everywhere. So one of the girls goes, "Oh, good, we've got a priest in our group," and she comes over to me and grabs my hand, you know. So that's why I was like a real dad moment, because I had to like hold this girl's hand the whole time. But she was really scared, and a lot of them were really scared. And Father Anthony Sortino too had the same experience, right? But it's like you're going through this dark, frightening place with these monsters that are after you, and the one thing you want to do is hold on to your dad's hand. He's not there, so you grab a priest, right? But that's the child's desire, is to hold on to the Father. So I brought that up because we're doing a meditation on Jesus in his darkest moment, his most frightening moment, reaching out for the Father. So we're going to meditate on Matthew 26, verse 36 and following. And I'm just going to give a few points. After the points, I would like to invite you, if you want to go out into the gardens anywhere to do the meditation. Okay? Might be a way of making it a little more real, of experiencing a little more vividly what we're contemplating here. Jesus out in the garden among the trees, the olive trees, praying to his Father. So, first point, what's going on inside the heads of his apostles, of the 11? Judas is missing. Jesus has already been super clear about what's going to happen. They're all on the roller coaster coming down from the joy of the entry into Jerusalem. It's gone now. The excitement has turned into anxiety. And usually the disciples are the ones who are afraid and worried and upset. And what do they do when they're afraid? Cling to Jesus, run to him, ask him to solve the problem. And now Jesus is visibly the one who is afraid and worried and upset. It leaves you feeling like, well, now what do we do? Now we can if we're scared, there's nothing to do about it. And they've got much more reason to be scared tonight. Now Jesus is down, and they can't figure out why. Usually he's the one to pick them up. So you arrive with him to the garden, and he invites you and Peter and James and John to go off by yourselves. My soul is consumed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. So what should they think now? What are the disciples thinking? This is the side of Jesus that they've never seen before. They've never seen him so afraid. They've never seen him tremble. Maybe you can ask him, Jesus, what's up? Why are you acting this way? Why are you not yourself tonight? What's come over you? No, they also know that Jesus goes through human emotions. When he went to raise Lazarus from the dead, he still cried. And even though they want to know what to do, even though they want to help Jesus, he tells them exactly what to do, and they don't do it. He tells them, watch with me. And they fall asleep. And then see Jesus in his prayer. In the meditation, you get to go and do what the disciples didn't do, which is go right up next to Jesus and hear him breathing, see the sweat and the blood. And let's get into this, because I think this might be the greatest mystery of all, is that all this time we've been contemplating Jesus in his great determination, how he had everything meticulously planned because he was not going to fail at this mission, and set with his heart set on Jerusalem, on going there to do this. And yet, after all this, he actually asks the Father to change the plan. He actually asks God the Father, if there's another way, take this cup away from me. So we have to imagine what's going through Jesus' mind. All of the pains that he's about to endure, the flagellation, the nails, the cross, the thorns, the mocking. And on the other hand, the pain of every sin, of all of humanity, every tear that has ever been shed or ever will be, the aching pain of the heart, the shame and the guilt of every individual and of all of time. I can't even imagine the pain that I would feel if I had to combine all of the pain of my life into one moment, into one day. And Jesus is embracing the suffering of all of humanity from all time. And think about this, even though he was God, even though he knew the outcome, it was still hard, the way it was with Lazarus. So what would you say to Jesus if you were there? I know you're going through this for me, because of me. I know that you're experiencing how hard it's going to be for you. I know this is what you came for. What would you say to Jesus? Would you encourage him? Would you try to motivate him? Would you try to say, Lord, you can do it? Which just sounds so wrong almost, because it sounds like, yeah, right, he doesn't need me to, give him a pep talk. But he does. He's at that point of decision of this is really hard. I don't know if I can do this. He experienced the fullness of the human weakness in his humanity. And I think that Jesus, throughout this night and his whole passion, what he really needs is for someone to be there. After all, that's what he asked for. Remember that silly story of the nail? It's not about the nail, The man and his wife, she doesn't want him to fix her problems or take them away. She just wants him to be there with her and to show that he's there and that he cares. Jesus needs a friend. He needs someone who's willing to go through suffering with him. He needs someone who's willing to have a broken heart with him. Who's willing to suffer with him abandonment, the rejection of his friends, feeling alone. And then you can go back to the apostles. Jesus says, could you not watch with me for 1 hour? Because really, even though in the meditation we're there beside him, in reality, he was alone. In reality, the disciples were not there with him. So we should feel that. We should understand what that's like and realize that in reality, I've been there with the apostles many times, sleeping instead of being with him. And let that awaken the confusion and the sorrow for what's happening. How could this happen? And how could I let him down? All the times that I've let him down. Let it well up in us with a great will and a great desire to be with him. To be with him in our sorrows, in his sorrows. And then you can end the meditation with the final scene. Get up, let us be on our way. The betrayer is at hand. His knowledge of the betrayer being at hand is like a little hint, a little reminder that he's still in control, that he's still the God-man, that he still has, it's still a plan being worked out, detail by detail. I know the betrayer is here. And that's encouraging because he's still fulfilling the Father's plan. He's decided. He's put his foot down. And it's interesting that this was a moment of where he got to experience weakness, but it's the last one. It's the last one. From now on, there will be no more wavering. I think there's a mystery in there for our lives. That ability to make a definitive resolution, definitive decision. From now on, I will not go back. From now on, I will go to the cross. I will do it step by step. From now on, he's this silent lamb. And you can continue with the arrest, if you want, the arrest of Jesus. His being put in chains, the kiss of Judas, and stay right beside him while all of this is happening.